Back in studio with Josh and Josh, the only time you'll get it this year. We're going to go through a couple of different topics as quickly as possible, mainly touching on some of the biggest events that have happened in the sporting world this summer, because it's been a pretty great sports summer despite how slow it feels right now. Let's go right to hockey, Josh, and simply look at the recent events with the Oilers and the Flames. You obviously have the Lucic and Neal swap, but the thing people aren't talking about as much is Mike Smith is now an Oiler, Cam Talbot is now a Flame, plus Rittich re-signing. So another full swap and two teams with real questions at goaltending.
I think the case in both of these deals, Josh, is that this was a simple change of scenery, not only for the Lucic and Neal deal, but also the Talbot and Smith deal. These are two goalies that didn't necessarily produce up to what people thought they were going to last year, especially with Cam Talbot. Maybe Mike Smith a little bit better, especially in the playoffs. He actually came through for them not bad in the postseason.
I was a strong defender of him, I got to say, as a diehard Flames fan. He might have had some struggles in the regular season, still a solid goaltender, definitely played well in the postseason. Continue.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Mike Smith definitely pulling it through in the postseason. But the thing with this Lucic-Neal deal is I'm a big fan of it. Coming from an Oilers fan perspective, I think that Lucic, his time at Edmonton had simply run out. It's a change of scenery needed for him. And I think that James Neal is coming off of a year in which this was James Neal, his sample size from last season isn't a true essence of the player he is. I think he's really going to bounce back, and I think he's going to fill in real nicely on that second line with the Nuge. I'm serious.
I wouldn't be surprised if you were correct on that. We'll have to see how those goaltenders again do, because these are two teams that really don't feel as confident in their number ones as maybe some other teams in the league do. Looking at maybe the medal podium when you come to the big events of the summer. Bronze medal, because it's less relevant for many people. We'll start with Wimbledon. We've never had a tiebreak in a fifth set, and it's always the same names that end up in that final, Federer and Djokovic.
I think especially coming out of this final Wimbledon, Josh, there's a lot of debate on who the GOAT is. Yeah. In tennis, is it Djokovic? Is it Federer? Obviously Federer getting a little bit to the later parts of his career. Djokovic seemed to handle him a little bit more in this Wimbledon one, although that it did go, this was a lengthy tennis match, Josh, but I think that especially late in that match, you were seeing that Federer was starting to make a couple of unforced errors, and even I think the whole essence of that final match, we talked about it earlier, was that final point in which Federer went for the forehand volley and the ball ended up flying up into the grandstand. But it's a match for the ages, to say the least.
Yeah, one I was definitely happy to watch, and it'll be interesting to watch these guys over the next couple of years. Is that the last time Federer has a chance to win a major, as he's 37 now? Obviously Djokovic, if he can stay healthy, got to think he has a shot at pushing past that all-time mark of 20 Grand Slams. Now, on to the silver medal, which is this Game 7 between the Blues and the Bruins. No one wanted to see the Bruins win aside from Bruins fans, and fortunately everyone was happy with the result, especially when we got to hear Brett Hull sing during the parade. Despite not having the ratings people wanted, it was a pretty great Stanley Cup playoffs and great final.
I think the story for the St. Louis Blues as a whole, Josh, was really remarkable. You look back at what their season was looking like in early parts of January, this team was dead last in the NHL, Josh. So the fact that they were able to come back, really rally, especially, I think that people are saying one of the turning points in that season was actually that fight, that huge altercation they had in one of their practices. Is all of a sudden it was a culture change for them, and they were able to really get the wheels under themselves, and you love to see a team kind of bounce back like that. It was a remarkable season for them.
And it was a remarkable season as well for the Toronto Raptors. No one picked them at the beginning of the season to win the NBA championship, not even people who work in Toronto, outside of their own fan base and their own management group, able to beat an injured Warriors team, obviously, but some really impressive wins against teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, like the Philadelphia 76ers. As much as it sucks to see Kawhi Leonard go, this may have been the biggest sporting moment in Canadian sports history since Sid's goal in 2010.
This is going to go down as one of the biggest moments, as you mentioned, Josh, in Canadian sports history, not only for the Toronto Raptors, but just the entire nation as a whole. Obviously, everyone is sad to see Kawhi Leonard go, but what he brought to Canada, no one has ever brought before. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, DeMar DeRozan, no one has ever brought an NBA championship to Toronto. So this moment is going to go down in history for Canada.
And obviously, hopefully will spawn a new generation of basketball stars. Vince Carter brought along Andrew Wiggins, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph. Perhaps Kawhi Leonard will bring on that next #1 pick coming from north of the border.